Chapter 9 homework, 9-7. Solve each of the following inequalities for the given variable. Represent your solutions on a number line. Part A. We start by first distributing the 2. We're going to solve for p. So let's solve this kind of like a normal equation. 2 times 3p is 6p plus 2 times 1 is 2. And then we have our greater than -4. Next, I'm going to subtract 2 from each side. 2 minus 2, that makes a 0 pair. And all that's left is 6p greater than -4 subtract 2 is -6. Next, divide by the number in front of p, so divide both sides by 6. This is a positive 6. It's positive, which means that this sign will not change. We're dividing by a positive number, and p is greater than -1. All right. Now I need to put this on the number line. It's good to include at least 4 integers when you make your number line. So let's put a circle at 1. This is the boundary point, and it should be an open circle. Since it is greater than -1, then I will shade all the solutions greater than -1. Arrow goes to the right. Okay, so I put 0 in the solution zone. Now a way to actually test your answer is go back to the original inequality and let's try plugging in 0 for p. So if we plug in 0 for p, we have 2 times 3 times 0 plus 1 greater than -4. 3 times 0 is just 0. Alright, so I'm going to go inside the parentheses first. Thinking about PEMDAS, P stands for parentheses. So you multiply that, and then after I multiply that, I'm going to add 1. So I get 2 times 1, 0 plus 1 is just 1, is greater than -4. And 2 times 1 is 2. 2 is greater than -4, and that's true. So what does that mean? That means that 0 is a solution. So this was checking our work. Now if you go down to the number line, definitely we shaded the side with 0, so we did it right. Okay, I'm going to start C, and then you can finish C on your own. Solve for H. First, I'm going to subtract 5 from each side. 5 minus 5 is 0, so it's 0 minus H is greater than or equal to -1. Now 0 minus H is -H, and that's important because we have to do something here. We have to divide both sides by -1. Alright, -H divided by -1 is H, and negative divided by negative is positive. Because I divided by a negative number, I have to flip the inequality. -1 divided by itself is 1. Alright, I'll let you graph it on the number line, and then you can check your answer as shown. 9-10. Write an equation of an exponential function that passes through the points 2, 48 and 5, 750. It's always helpful to start with the table, and in that table you should have somewhere where x is 0, that's the starting value. So the only info we have is that 2, 48 and 5, 750. Alright, now because it says exponential, we have to use the equation y equals a times b to the power x. Taking our first point, we need to plug it in to make one equation. So x is 2, y is 48. So if we plug this point into that equation, we get 48 equals a times b. We don't know what either of those are, but we know what x is, so it's a times b raised to the power 2. All right. Then we're going to take the y equals AB equation and plug in the point 5, 750 to make a second equation. So y becomes 750 equals a and b stay the same, and then raised to the power x, so raised to the power 5. All right, those are my two equations. I'll help you start solving this, and then you can finish solving it on your own. Okay, so I'm going to use the shortcut, and the shortcut says we need to choose the higher power of b. B to the power 5. So I'm going to write that equation, and I'm going to write that on top. I'm going to write the equation with the lower power of b below. The trick is, once I have written them in this order, I'm going to divide the two equations together. Starting with 750 divided by 48. I need a calculator for that one. That is 15.625. All right, and then we have our equal sign. And then we have a's. A divided by a, that cancels, so those are gone. And then b to the power 5 divided by b to the power 2. Law of exponent. You subtract the exponents when you divide those two numbers. Okay, so I have 15.625 equals b to the power 3. Now, in order to get b, I'm going to have to cube root each side. If I cube root each side, cube and cube root cancel each other out. All right, so I take the cube root of that number, and I get 2.5. All right, so b, the multiplier, is 2.5. Write the equation of an exponential function. I'll let you do that. You have the multiplier. Now find the starting value and write the equation. 9-13. Rewrite each of the following expressions without parentheses or negative exponents. Okay, I will do b. For b, looking through here, I want to clear out the parentheses first, thinking about PEMDAS. Start with the parentheses. So this is 3 to the power 1, x to the power 2. All right, so I have 15, x to the power negative 5, y to the power 2, divided by a power raised to another power, multiply. So 3 to the power 1 raised to the power 2, multiply 1 times 2 for the new exponent. Then we have x to the power 2 raised to the power 2, multiply 2 times 2, and that's 4. All right, next step, wherever I see a negative exponent, I will have it cross the line and change its sign. So I will have x come down to the bottom because it has a negative exponent. 15 is to the power positive 1, so leave 15 alone. And then y, this y needs to come up to the top. So basically you're just switching two things around. So we get 15 y squared, y to the power positive 3. Don't forget that you cross the line and change the little sign. And that's over 9x4, x to the power positive 5. So I did 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, so now when you multiply two of the y's together, y squared times y cubed, that's y to the power 5. Remember, you add the exponents. And same for the x's. When you multiply two x's together, you add the exponents. So that's x to the power 9. Okay, there's one more thing I can do, and that is divide the top and bottom by 3. Those big numbers in front. So the greatest common divisor of these two numbers is 3, meaning 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. But as far as the exponents and the x's and y's, those will just stay the same. Final answer. Number 17. Solve the inequalities below for the given variables. Represent your solutions on the number line. Let's start with A. Distribute the 3 to get 6k minus 3 less than 9. Add 3 to both sides to get 6k greater than 12, and then isolate k, so divide both sides by 6, and k is less than 2. So that's part 1. Part 2 is to represent it on the number line. When you draw your number line, make sure it includes at least 4 integers. So that's -1. Alright, k is less than 2, so I'm going to put a boundary point at 2. That's the open circle. Less than means towards the left, and it's less than, so I'll leave it as an open circle. Alright, how about b? b has a fraction. Multiply both sides by the LCD. There's only one fraction, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. So basically, look at the denominator. It's 5. Multiply both sides by 5. So I get 10p over 5 less than or equal to 6 times 5 is 30. 10p divided by 5 is 2p. So 2p is less than or equal to 30. And then if you divide both sides by 2, p is less than or equal to 15. Putting it on the number line, remember you need at least 4 integers on your number line. You don't have to have 0, as long as you have 4 integers. Okay, and here's 15, so let's put a closed dot at 15. Closed because of this less than or equal to. And then less than means all the numbers less than 15 are solutions. 9-18. Tui wrote the following inequalities for a problem that she was solving. 2n minus 1 less than 5 or 2n minus 1 greater than -5. Which of the following statements is true? I'll solve this first one, you can solve the other one. So we have 2n minus 1 less than 5. 2n minus 1 less than 5. So I'll add 1 to each side. 2n less than 6. Divide both sides by 2. N is less than 3. Alright, so I have n is less than 3. So that one's out. Maybe it's B, or C, or D. So I've eliminated 1. If you solve this one, then it'll narrow down your answer. So solve this, you have n is less than 3, or what else? 9-20. Write the graph in the form a times b raised to the power x. Okay, this is our starting value. A equals 1. Alright, the coordinates of this point are 0, 3. Okay, the coordinates of this point are 1, 1. Now, if I put those points into a table, 0, 3, 1, 1, since this is an exponential function, I know that I multiply to get to the next term. So basically, 3 times what will give me 1? Alright, so I'll let you figure that out. It's going to be y equals 1 times something to the power x. Find that multiplier, find that something. And that'll give you your answer. 9-33. Absolute value equation. So I'll do B and C. Step 1. Make 2 equations. Take everything inside the absolute value, 2x in this case, and set it equal to 32. Then you take 2x and set it equal to -32. Alright? Make your 2 equations and then solve them both. X is 16 or x is -16. Let's try C. I have x plus 7 equals 10 or x plus 7 equals -10. So the number that you make negative is the one on the right hand side of the equal sign. Okay, solve both equations. X equals 3 or x equals, take away 7 from both sides, x equals -17. -10 minus 7, -17. Which makes sense if you think about it, because if you plug in -17, -17 plus 7 is -10. And the absolute value of -10 is normal 10. So it checks out. 9-37. The increased demand for vegetarian meals has caused an increase in the price of tofu. If the cost of tofu is currently $2.99, alright, so tofu is $2.99 a pound, and it's increasing by 6% per year. Okay, those are the two important numbers. How much is it going to cost in 5 years? Alright, so here's my tofu. And we know that it costs, right now, $2.99 per pound. So we can think of that as like our starting value, starting cost. Alright, now because it's increasing by 6% per year, that's kind of your giveaway to use y equals a times b raised to the power x. We're going to need to get a multiplier. Alright, so our starting cost is going to act as our starting value in this equation. So a is $2.99. And then the multiplier is going to be how much you multiply by to find out how much it costs next year. So the way we get that with the percent increase is you start at 100%, and then you add 6%, right? So you get 106%. And a multiplier is that number as a decimal. So to get that number as a decimal, you move the decimal 2 places to the left, 1.06. And that's your B. Okay, so I'll leave it up to you. Make the equation, then plug in 5. So recall here with my equation, I should define this. Y can be equal to cost of tofu. And then X can be equal to number of years passed. So you're going to plug in 5 in for X, because X is representing the number of years. 9-46. Solve the inequality. Put it on a number line. All right, part D. Distribution. And I'll do B as well. So with part D, you're going to distribute the 4. That's the first thing you want to do. Get rid of the parentheses. And you get 4x minus 12, right? Because 4 times 3 is 12. All right, and then we're going to add 5, have a greater than or equal to symbol, and negative 7. Combine like terms to get 4x minus 7 greater than or equal to negative 7. Adding 7 to both sides, I get 4x greater than or equal to 0. Dividing both sides by 4, 0 divided by anything is still 0, so x is greater than or equal to 0. Putting this on a number line, make sure you include at least 4 integers. So I have 5 right there. That's good enough. Now I'm going to put a boundary point at 0, and it's going to be closed, filled in because of the equal to, greater than or equal to. And greater than means shade in all the numbers greater than 0. So everything to the right. For B, I need to combine like terms, so that's going to be 2x minus 1 greater than or equal to 4x plus 5. 5x minus 3x is 2x. Okay, then I picked the smaller of the x's, which is 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. And I get negative 1 greater than or equal to 2x plus 5. Okay, take away 5 from each side, 5. Take away 5 from each side. And we're going to have 2x. We have the symbol. And we have negative 6. So let me continue up here. All right, now I need to divide both sides by 2, and I get x is one of those symbols and negative 3. It's customary to write x on the left, so I need to mirror, switch and flip. This is the mirror image, switch and flip. X is less than or equal to negative 3. To put that on a number line, you're going to want to put at least 4 integers. All right, and then put a closed dot at the boundary point. Closed dot because less than or equal to. Less than means shade the numbers less than that. So arrow goes left. 9-48. Use the graph below to write an exponential function in that form. First thing I'm going to do is highlight the coordinates of this point, which are actually 1, 1.4. over 1, up 1.4. So there we go. All right, then when I go into my table, I have 0, 0.2 and 1, 1.4. Now, because it's a curve, because it says exponential, and because it says use that equation, that is 3 strikes, I need to get a multiplier. So that multiplier, b, is going to come from dividing those two numbers together. 1.4 divided by 0.2. And that's 7. So b equals 7. Think about it like this. 0.2 times 7 is 1.4, so I know I'm on the right track. Y equals a times b raised to the power x. So y equals something times 7 raised to the power x. I'll let you fill in that something. What's the starting value? Goes in for a. Moving on. 9-59. Solve each equation. Check your solutions. Let's look at C. The absolute value of something is equal to a negative number. When does that happen? And the answer is never. Absolute value always makes things positive, so this one is no solution. And it's no solution because absolute value only equals positive numbers. All right, next, coming over to B. I need to make two distinct equations. Negative 3x plus 9 equals 10. And negative 3x plus 9 equals, you guessed it, negative 10. So we have one equation equal to 10 and the other equation equal to negative 10. You flip the number on the right-hand side. Then you just need to remember to solve both as you would normally. Subtract 9 from each side on the left-hand side in this case to get negative 3x equals 1. Then you're going to divide both sides by negative 3x equals negative a third. Or solve this one to get the other solution. Take away 9 from each side. Negative 3x equals negative 19. And then you divide both sides by that number in front of x. All right, so divide both sides by negative 3. And x is equal to 19 over 3. What happened to that negative sign? Well, look, negative divided by negative is a positive. Two solutions. Algeria has decided to take on an advertisement in the UN newspaper, Liberty Daily. The newspaper charges a base fee of $1,200 for an ad. So a little red flag there. Base fee, I'm going to guess that means starting value. There is an additional fee of $300 for every inch of height. If Algeria was willing to spend any amount and up to, including $2,700, what choice does the country have for height of the ad? Okay, so for every increase in 1, we're going to grow by $300. We're going to add $300, all right? So that's your giveaway to use y equals mx plus b. This is linear, it's not exponential. All right, so our starting value is 1,200. We grow by 300 a month, that's our growth. So my equation is y equals 300x plus 1,200. Now the question is, when is that going to be less than $2,700, right? They're willing to spend this amount or less. $2,700 or less. So this is kind of like the amount they're willing to spend. That has to be less than or equal to $2,700 basically. All right, so here's what you need to solve. How much they're willing to spend, or how much it's going to cost, it should say, how much the amount is, and that should be less than or equal to $2,700. Solve that. Solve for x. Let me not circle it, it's not done yet. 945, match the graph with the correct inequality. All right, let's check it out. Y greater than negative x plus 2. All right, so this has a y-intercept of 2. So it can be this graph, only those two. Now it says it has a negative 1 slope. Both these slopes are negative. However, this is greater than, and greater than, oops, spelled that wrong. Greater than means shade above. All right, so you're going to shade above, which means the only solution is 3. And that goes for A. You can draw an arrow if you like. Let's do one more. D. This one also has a starting value of 2. Process of elimination, that one's D. Let's check Y real quick. Less than or equal to, that means shade below. This one is shaded below. This has a negative slope, -2/3, and turns out this one also has a negative slope, pointed in the downward direction. Match the other two. 9-58, graph them on graph paper. So let's go to B. The starting value is at -1. All right, and then the slope is 2/3. Rise over run. So up 2/3. Up 2/3. You can continue the pattern backwards as well. Now it's greater than, so I'm going to have a dashed line. Don't do a solid line. That's not allowed. It has to be dashed because it's greater than. And greater than means shade above. All the solutions are up here. So I notice 0, 0 is here. So if I want, I can plug in 0 and 0 for x and y. And I get 0 is greater than 0 minus 1. So 0 is greater than -1. That's true. So I shaded the correct region. 9-61. If the graph of an exponential function passes through the points, write the equation of the function. All right, let's make a table. Make sure you include a 0 for x in your table. So 0 through 4. We know that 1 is having an output of 6 and 4, 48. All right. The process here is, this is exponential, so we're going to use y equals a times b raised to the power x. So let's run it through our first point, which is 1, 6. All right, this is x, that's y, so we get 6 equals a times b raised to the power 1. All right, we don't know what a and b are, so leave them be. Next, we run it through our second point, which is 4, 48. So that's going to be 48 in for y. 48 equals a times b raised to the power 4. All right, so those are our two equations, right? So now I need to stack them on top of each other, do the shortcut. And this shortcut requires that the higher power of b be on top, which I did. So I rearranged the equations, and now I'm going to divide them together. 48 divided by 6 is going to be, I can't think right now, got to use the calculator, sorry about that, that's 8. 8 equals a, and a cancel b to the power 4 minus 1. When you divide two b's, the exponents are going to subtract. So we have 8 equals b to the power 3. Now if you want b, cube root each side. Cube root and to the power 3, those cancel each other out. So b equals the cube root of 8, which is 2. We just found our multiplier. So to go to the next term, I multiply by 2. Now I'll leave it up to you to find the starting value and create your equation. Graph the systems of inequalities below. Shade the solutions region. Starting with the first one. Y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 4. All right, my graph got a little bit cut off, but it should be fine on your page. All right, so starting value of minus 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the slope is 2. That's the same as 2 over 1. So up 2 over 1. Recall this is an equation of a line, so it will not be curved. It will be a straight line. Greater than or equal to, that means a solid line. And greater than means shade above. I'm going to shade very lightly for now. Okay, next we need to do the second, which is y less than x. All right, so for y less than x, whoops. There we go. For y less than x, the starting value is 0, right? It's x plus 0. So I'll put a dot at 0. The slope is the number in front of x, which is the invisible 1. It's positive. It means for every 1 I go over, I should go up 1. All right, and since it's less than, I have to put a dashed line. And less than also means I should shade below. So very lightly, I'll shade below. Now notice the shading overlaps in one and only one region, this one. So here are where all my solutions are. And then if you want, you can even erase the shading in the other regions to make it crystal clear where your solutions are. Now, is 0, 0 a solution to this system? And the answer is no. Right? Because if you plug it into that second equality, y is less than x becomes 0 is less than 0, which is false. That's false. Not a solution. Solutions have to be true. 9-75. I think we have, yep, 2 more to go. So hang in there, everybody. Let's start with D and let's do C. So D, I need to isolate the absolute value equation first. It's kind of tricky. So we need to take away 2 first. Before I do anything else, take away 2, and then I get absolute value 2x minus 3 equals 3. Right? So then I can do my normal absolute value thing. I had to do that minus 2 part first. So if there's anything outside the absolute value, you want to get rid of it first. Okay, and by normal absolute value thing, I mean make 2 equations, one where 2x minus 3 equals 3, and one where 2x minus 3 equals negative 3. So remove the absolute value, and then make the number on the right-hand side positive and negative. Solving both equations for x, I get 2x equals 6, x equals 3, or add 3 to both sides. Don't write no solution for this one, please. Don't write no solution. Answer is 0. Divide both sides by 2, and 0 divided by anything is 0. All right, for part C, we multiplied by the LCD, which is 5x. Kind of tricky, this one. We have a 5 in the denominator. We have an x in the denominator. 5 times x is just 5x. So multiply both sides by 5x. All right, so I'm going to get 20x over 5 plus 5 times 18, that is 90. So that's 90x. And this one's over x, and that's equal to 40x. 20x over 5 is 4x plus 90x divided by x is just 90, and that's equal to 40x. And now we just solve this guy for a normal equation now that the fractions are busted. So take away 4x from each side. 90 equals 36x. And then we need to divide both sides by 36. So x equals 90 over 36. Now these numbers are both even numbers, so I need to divide the top and bottom by 2 to reduce these down a little bit. 90 divided by 2 is 45, and 36 divided by 2 is 18. Still need to simplify that because I can divide the top and bottom by 3. Still, 3 goes into 45 15 times, and 3 goes into 18 6 times. I still need to simplify it because, look, you can still divide the top and bottom by 3. All right, so 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. So finally, the answer is 5/2. I suppose I could have, right from the start, divided the top and bottom by 18. 18 is a common factor. Final problem, 9-76. Are these problems, are these triangles congruent? Well, if I hinge the triangle around, let's see what I get. I get this top triangle, BDA, this angle and that segment were marked. And this triangle, if I write it off to the side for now, if I hinge it around, D is going to be over here, B is going to be over here due to rotation, and then this side will now be that side. CD is here, angle D was marked. All right, since they share a side in the middle, DB is common to both sides and should be considered congruent. So we have the congruency condition, side, angle, side. Next, you need to justify your answer using you need to state a series of rigid transformations. I did not do that. So they are congruent by SAS. And you can finish that by stating the transformations.